Hey everyone, welcome to another NFL video. It is officially week 1 of the NFL season, so I'm very excited. I'm sure you guys are too. In this video, I'm going to be going over how you should construct a cash game lineup. Now, I'm not just giving away a cash lineup that I'm going to personally use. Hey, maybe I do. This is just an early build that I looked at and I kind of did it quickly, and then I wrote some notes down of why I did the things that I did, and this may be helpful for you when you guys make your own lineups. Now, I'm not just saying to copy and paste this lineup because I did it really quickly, but I gave my notes why I did it and the reasons why, and this should be able to help you when you build your own lineups. Anyway, before we continue, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, if you could please hit that subscribe button, really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. You can also find me on Twitter at ChrisPennell16, and then if you're looking behind me, you're going to see, I guess not behind me, what's sharing the screen with my face here is my entire NFL spreadsheet that I put together. I put a lot of time into this, and it helps me do all these plays for you guys, helps me put together my videos. It's what I use for everything. It's got everything in one spot. I used to always have to have 50 tabs open, and I built this, and it cuts my research time by a lot. It's got everything right where I need it. It's one spot, color coded to help me figure, what's good, what's bad quickly. So if you like access to this, it's in the link in the description below, and you can get access to my Slack chat. And I have projections on here, ranking system. I have a cheat sheet put together on here, and I got some other stuff too. It's got the matchups, the Vegas total, the 2018 stats at the moment. Wide receivers will have like the cornerback and wide receiver cornerback matchups, which by PFF. So you got that on there. Yards per route covered. I think wide receiver cornerback matchup data is extremely important in DFS because if you just look at the overall wide receiver versus defense matchup, and you can dig in a little bit deeper for just one-on-one matchup, I think it can give you quite the edge because a lot of casual fans are not going to go that far into that. A lot of casual fans just look at the DK thing and it says 30-second and it's green and the matchup thing, and they're like, yep, plug them in. So if you can dig a little deeper, it's going to give you an edge. I even have the weather on here. A lot of the games didn't have weather yet, but there's some updated. So like the Cleveland game, we're looking at 68 degrees, overcast, and cloudy. So it might help you out. It might not. It's more helpful if there's just a lot of rain forecast, so if you can adjust for your quarterbacks and receivers. And then I got projections on the right, ranking system, all that stuff. So if you're interested, link in the description below. I'm sorry to plug this long, but I got to do it. Now let's go into Draftkings, and I'll go over my example lineup that I put together for you guys. All right, now that we're on the Draftkings, let's go over who I'm going to put in at the quarterback position, most likely for cash games. And that is most likely going to be the number 1 overall pick of the NFL draft, Kyler Murray, at a price tag of $5,600 versus Detroit. So let's put him in there. And he is very cheap, and he's going against Detroit, who really struggled through the air last season. They were 30th DVOA versus the pass. Now, I don't think Murray is going to be an elite NFL talent, but that doesn't mean he can't be a good fantasy option for us week 1 at his price tag. He offers us a high floor with his rushing upside, and it isn't like he's a bad passer like Lamar Jackson. Sorry to all the Lamar Jackson fans. It's true, though. And the problem is his offensive line is horrendous, but that could lead to more scrambling out of the pocket and picking up some extra rushing yards. As we know, he has great rushing ability. And also, why this is a great play for cash games is because he's going to be extremely chalky, and it's for good reason, for the reasons I already listed above. Now, in cash games, you do not get difficulty points. Just play the easy plays. Let everyone else screw up. And just play the right plays. Do not try to get sneaky in cash. That's for the million maker. That's for GPPs. In cash games, play the smart and easy plays. You guys don't get double points for playing someone that no one else played, and you just don't get extra points for that. Play the easy guys. And that's what we're going to do with Murray here. And like I said, he does not have to be exceptional either at this price. If he can get us some rushing yards and a touchdown or two, we will be extremely happy, especially if he gets a rushing touchdown. That'd be excellent. And I really don't see a scenario where the Cardinals are in a comfortable enough position to just hand it off to DJ all game, where Murray does not have to do at least something to stay relevant in this game. So let's move on to the running back position, and we have 2 slots here, and I think these are actually really, really obvious. Let's start with Dalvin Cook at $6,000. So first off, why is he only $6K? This price is only going to go up, so I would get in now before it goes up to $7K, $6,500 soon, which I'm pretty sure it will. He draws an amazing matchup versus the Falcons, who were terrible versus running backs last season, albeit they had a ton of injuries, but still. They were 30th DVOA versus the run, allowed 30 points per game to running backs, and they got shredded by running backs through the air last season or out of the backfield, as they allowed the most receiving yards per game to the position and were 28th DVOA versus pass catching running backs. And Cook has elite talent, and is a very good pass catcher as well. With the Vikings moving to a more run-heavy scheme, this is the nuts play. He'll be one of, if not the highest owned player on the slate, and I am absolutely locking him into my lineups for week 1. And then the next guy is Tony Pollard. Now, this is if Zeke doesn't end up showing up like on Wednesday or something, but I'm pretty sure Tony Pollard is going to be the starter for week 1. The latest report was that the Cowboys are not even close, even though they said on Saturday that they were close. Now they're not close. Who knows? I bet maybe even Zeke doesn't know at this point, but I certainly don't know. And but yeah, at Pollard 4,500. He looked very solid in preseason and gets to run behind an elite offensive line who should have their way with the Giants defensive line, who let Snacks Harrison go mid-season last year. And if Zeke is gone, you cannot pass up someone who is going to get this much of a workload at this price. Game flow should have Pollard getting a ton of carries versus the 20th DVOA defense versus the run last season, and they allowed 28 points per game to the running backs last year. So I think Pollard is a fantastic play at 4,500. We cannot pass up this value if Zeke is in fact playing. And if Zeke is playing, we can't use Tony Pollard. That's just not, especially in cash games, do not do that. So now we go to the receiver position, and the first guy I am going to plug in this week is Chris Godwin at 6,200. He is Mr. Hype Beast this offseason. We've all heard the hype around him. 100 receptions, going to outscore Mike Evans this season, never leaving the field. All right, let's slow down just a little bit on the hype train. He is a good player. He's not better than Mike Evans, though, but I still like him. He's got great talent, and I love him for week 1 versus San Francisco. If you guys have watched my other videos, you know I love this game for fantasy. Close spread, high Vegas total, 2 below average defenses, 2 high-paced teams. This should be a great game for fantasy, and Godwin is my favorite player in this game. The 49ers were awful through the air last season and allowed a league-high 1.69 touchdowns per game to the wide receiver position, which is by far a lot more than the rest of the league. It doesn't look by a lot comparatively, but a few decimal points actually is kind of substantial in this set of data. I guess. I don't know if I said that right. Whatever. You guys get the idea. And he's cheaper than Mike Evans, and I prefer him over Evans this week as well, only because of price. Obviously, Evans very well can outscore him. He's got that big play potential, but Godwin should get a lot of receptions and looks in this offense, especially with Bruce Arians taking over as the head coach of this team. So I do love Chris Godwin this week. Then another guy who I think is a pretty obvious choice is Tyler Boyd at 5,800. He's, with AJ Green gone, he's pretty much the wide receiver 1 now, and he's going to be in a favorable potential game script with the Bengals being 10-point dogs to the Seahawks on the road, so they should have to pass to stay in this game or even stay remotely close. I don't love Boyd, but he should get there on volume alone, and I think 12 to 15-point day is in order here. It may take until garbage time, but hey, it all counts the same. And then the next guy, I want to spend up just a little bit because I don't want to pick all mid-range guys because we definitely have the salary to spend up at a few positions. So Adam Thielen at 6,800. So he was a PPR monster last season, and the Falcons were dreadful versus the position last season, being 29th DVOA and allowed 41.1 DraftKings points per game. He's Kirk Cousins' guy, and he's a safe bet for cash games. As you always know, he will be hyper-targeted, and more than likely, he will get us double-digit points. I don't want to spend too long on Adam Thielen. Obviously, he's an excellent player. He's a great route runner. He'll be in the slot, and he'll also be on the outside. Fantastic matchup for him. I do like Adam Thielen quite a bit. And then to tight end. So we can do multiple things at tight end for cash games, in my opinion. You can either pay down for Hunter Henry, who's in an amazing matchup. He's only 3,900, going up against the Colts, who allowed the most receiving yards per game to the position and allowed about 16 points per game to the position. And those are all really, really bad. But with the way this lineup's constructed, if I went with Hunter Henry, I don't really like the rest of the construction. So I am going to spend up all the way for Travis Kelce, who is by far the best tight end in the NFL right now. So if we plug him in, we still have 4,000 per position remaining, which is perfect, as you guys will see soon. So Travis Kelce. So was Jacksonville tough on tight ends last season? Yes. Do things change over the course of the year? yes, they have lost some players, and Ramsey will shadow Hill, and that's going to funnel more passes to Kelsey. And I can't see him having too much of a tough time versus them. Obviously, it's not the best matchup in the world, but it's Travis Kelsey, and that means it's not a very good matchup for the Jags. Either. Kelsey is a beast. He never surprises me if he goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's just that good. He's basically a receiver out there that's just a little bit bigger and just a little bit slower. And yeah, last season he had a 100-yard game versus them. I believe he had about 5 catches. So that's a pretty decent day. Hopefully we can get him into the end zone. And if he does, that's going to be fantastic. And he's one of the safest players to use in fantasy because he always gets his, except for week 1 last season. That was bad, but I don't see that ever happening again. And then at the flex position, we have, first off, let's just do the defense. So, actually, no, let's just do the flex first. So, at 4,200, we are going to look at Curtis Samuel, if I can find him. Yep, right here. So, Curtis Samuel. He's a cheap receiver with upside who will have some decently high ownership. This would be Curtis. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. He has shown out this offseason, and he looked great in camp. Some are even saying he's the offseason MVP on that team, and the Panthers are training camp MVP, and the Panthers are going to have to throw to stay in this game. And with the majority of the attention on DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey, I think Samuel will get some soft coverage, and he becomes a safe play with a decent floor and high ceiling. We know how fast he is, and if he gets the ball in open space, good things usually happen. He could always take a short drag route to the house. Wouldn't surprise me. So I do think Samuel is a pretty decently safe play at 4,200. And then, thankfully, we have 3,800 left, and I get the defense that I want to plug in my cash games. We get the Ravens at 3,800. They are an elite defense, and I love to jam them in my cash games. They're a surefire defense versus the Miami Dolphins, who do not scare me one bit. They have the lowest team total of the slate, and the Ravens have a stout defense. This is a layup play, and if you can fit the Ravens defense in your lineups for week 1, I would feel extremely safe about it. But anyway, guys, that's just an example roster construction of how you should build your lineups for week 1. I'm not saying just plug and play this lineup because I just kind of did this on the fly, but it all made sense to me. I like the construction of this lineup. We're not stacking. I wouldn't stack in cash. Maybe if a quarterback and wide receiver combo is just in an elite spot, then obviously that's fine. But just like to do one-offs in cash, because if you stack and the stack just absolutely blows, you are absolutely screwed. So I think this is pretty good roster construction. Hope this video was helpful for you guys for week 1 of the NFL season. If it was, if you could leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, again, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and I really, really appreciate it. If you'd like access to my extra content, including my NFL spreadsheet, it is available in the link in the description below for my Patreon. I wish you guys the best of luck with whatever you're doing for week 1, or if you're playing baseball or another sport. And I'll see you guys in